I am that I am, Adamus of free being. Thank you. You can save your applause for later. See if it's more real by the time we're done with today. No, it was beautiful. But speaking of beauty, can you sense what happened in the room? And for all of you watching in, can you sense what happened just in the last few minutes? Something kind of swept over everyone, swept over Shambra. Maybe even a little difficult to describe in words, but a feeling of real, a feeling of, I guess you would say, quality, a feeling of sensuality. Sensuality. I've been talking about the senses for quite a bit now. It's been a lot of words and a lot of intellectual concepts, but then they eventually kind of absorb into your very being. You begin to understand not at a mind word level, but at a heart feeling level what it means to be sensual, going beyond what I would call a relatively gray, flat, and oftentimes humorless life, where you're so serious about life and even serious about your enlightenment. And then you take a deep breath and suddenly your world changes. Now, we're going to talk about it a little bit today, but is it the way you're perceiving the world and yourself? Is it things that are really happening and changing? I mean, can this be real? All of this enlightenment that you've been working so hard on, is it finally here? And I noticed something. I noticed a lot of things, but while the music was playing, beautiful music, a little bit quiet for my introduction. We'll get to that in a moment, but beautiful music, but something changed. And this tree of sensuality that was unveiled today, beautiful tree, so symbolic in so many different ways of what's going on. You know, we couldn't have had that tree before now, not in the real sense of appreciation, because if we had had it a year or two ago, it wouldn't have had the sensuality. It wouldn't have tickled your senses like it does now. It's been sitting there waiting for years, just waiting to come here, to be with you. And this beautiful tree of sensuality, and no, I'm not afraid of crystals anymore. I'm not worried about getting stuck inside, but this beautiful tree, symbolic of the senses. I've said that there's over 200,000 other senses that you have. As humans, you're focused in one, and that's focus. You're in one sense. Could you imagine this incredible journey of coming to this planet and taking on time, space, and physical form? Coming to this planet and taking on very limited energy? That's the sense of focus. And it worked. You got very focused. It's your one sense. It's the one true sense of humans, focus. Things like your sight, your hearing, your taste, those are just tools. But one sense, focus. Now you're opening up to the other senses. 200,000. You're not going to open to all those right away. As I've said, you get to about 11 or 12 senses that you're actually using or allowing into your life. That's when you get that big smile, and you know you are truly the embodied master. This tree represents sensuality, what you're coming to. It's beautiful in its own right. It's made from nature. Everything in here from nature. It represents nature. You know, so often they talk about the tree of life. What is the tree of life? Well, to me, it's the tree of senses. Opening to your senses. And here you see the visual beauty of it, but I ask you for a moment to feel the energy of it. Now, crystals in themselves hold nothing over you. Crystals in themselves are not going to free you from the bondage of limited human life. But crystals are a beautiful reminder in so many ways. As Linda says, they come from earth, they're made under pressure, and they turn into such beautiful things like you. All the pressure that you've had, all that tremendous pressure, and then you let it go. You stop working so hard. You stop trying so hard. You stop exerting pressure on yourself, and you become the Christos, the crystal, the Christ that you truly are. This beautiful tree of sensuality, like I said, they talk about the tree of life, but it's really the tree of sensuality. This beautiful tree represents crystals, the very thing that this planet was seeded with so long ago by the angelic beings prior to human arrival. The crystals themselves held energy. They emitted light and they emitted energy, but a different type of energy, a very different type, something that we'll talk about today. Crystals themselves embedded in the earth. As a matter of fact, the core of earth isn't just a bunch of hot, molten lava. It is a huge crystal. And they've been such an important part of this planet because a crystal represents clarity. Crystal is symbolic of Christos, or the Christ. Not Yeshua Christ, but the Christ consciousness, or the Christed consciousness within each of you. I'll actually go so far, I'll extrapolate and say the word Christos, crystal, Christ, actually means senses. In a true literal definition, it means senses. The ability to perceive with more than just the eye, with more than just focus. This tree also represents to me the humans, you, who will come into your embodied mastery in this lifetime. There's over 1,000 crystals on this tree, I'm told. How many? How many more? How many more trees will we need to get? When will we come to our first 1,000 or more of you who have allowed that consciousness into the body? How many more trees like this will line the stage when we get past 1,000 and 2,000 and 3,000? This, I hope, is just a beginning. And one of these precious, beautiful crystals represents you, has your name on it for when that time comes. It's really quite, in a way, quite a moment to have this here to accompany us as we talk about sensuality, senses. It's the way out. The way out of focus. You've probably already learned you can't get out of focus with focus. And you can't get out with your mind. And you can't get out with trying. You just can't. And you've tried reading books, going to workshops. You tried every trick in the book on yourself regarding how to get out. And what does it do? It just gets you into more focus. That's kind of the funny thing about the sense of focus. It begets itself. It gets you more focused. And then you try so desperately hard to get out again. There is so much more. You know there's so much more. It's within you, but how do you access it? How do you get there? When the mind scrambles off and tries to figure it out, you can't. One thing, allowing. You say, well, Adamus, if it's that simple, why doesn't it just happen? Good question. It's really a matter of trust. Trust. To allow the I am that is already here, the universes that are already within, the senses that are already here, to allow that without effort, without manipulation, without structure, but truly just to allow. That is trust at the level of, the deepest level, the level of, I'll trust so much that I'm willing to die for it. I'm willing to die. That kind of trust. But few humans do that. Most humans think that they're trusting a little bit. And I've heard this statement so many times. Well, I'm getting a little better every day. No, you're not. You're not. You're lying to yourself. I'm getting a little better every day. No, you're not. You're running in circles. It's like a hamster on a wheel. Is that better? Is the hamster any further ahead? The hamster thinks she is, but is absolutely no further ahead. I'm sorry, Carrie, that screwed up face is like, oh, am I the hamster? Yeah.
I know I'm the fat hamster on the wheel. I'm sorry.
To me, you're so beautiful. Come here, let's have a kiss. Come here.
Any day.
Please.
No.
Come here, love. Come here. Come here. In front of the tree.
Yeah, don't look, Linda.
Where else? Ready? Good. In front of the tree. Good. Where were we? Oh, hamster on a. You know, by the way, never, ever, ever, ever underestimate the power of distraction. The beauty of distraction. You know, humans get focused. They stay linear. They stay on that same path. Snap them out of it. Snap yourself out of it. Do something totally outrageous just to get yourself. You know, when you get down in the dumps, what do? Oh, why am I in the dumps? And you're thinking about the dumps and what got me here. And I'm such a bad person. Shut up. Go do something outrageous. Really, it does miracles. You can shift the energy in a room very quickly with a little distraction. Genuine distraction. I love the kiss. And you smell so good, I meant to mention. But suddenly it snaps the energy, gets it out of the focus, and allows it to flow naturally. So, back to the point. Beautiful, beautiful tree of sensuality. It was time. And I think you'll come to understand that more as we carry on. But before we go any further, I have to admit that I told the Ascended Masters the other night at the Ascended Masters Club, it is a real place, by the way. I use it as a story, as a delivery mechanism, but it is a real place. I mean, we gather, we chat, we laugh about you. We have great fun. And they're so intrigued by my stories. You know, some of them do some teachings too, but other groups, you know, like down in Sedona and places like that. But they're so intrigued by Shambhala. How's it going, Adamus? It's almost like a contest, you know. It's like we all have our groups that, well, not all of them, but a lot of us have our groups we work with. And it's almost, you know, be sitting around having a cigar and a drink and to be, how's the group going, Adamus? How many Ascended Masters do you have now, Embodied Masters down in your group? Well, I actually don't tell them. I like to keep them guessing. And some of them will brag, oh, I got 2 or 3 that are close. Like, and so they're always asking, how's that group of Shambhala down there? And I don't say too much because I don't want to ruin it. I want to show up one day and say, I got over 1,000. What are you talking about? How many? You don't have any? None? We got 1,000 or more. We're going to order another tree, as a matter of fact, a bigger one this time, make room for more. But I have to admit, it wasn't that expensive. No, here's a good point. Here's a very good point. And actually, the real point of the tree. Live your life in quality from now on. I'm really tired of you cheaping out on yourself. You're tired of it, but I'm really, really tired of it. Do you realize that what it's like for an Ascended Master to have to deal with somebody who's cheaping out? I mean, who's afraid they might spend too much? That's not very Ascended Masterly-like. No. And live quality or don't live at all, I say. You're like, not so sure. Buy a nice tree, a nice car, a nice house, a nice house. Just do it. Whether clothing. Now, part of you, the guilty, a lot of you used to be Catholic, guilty Catholic part is like, oh, but I shouldn't be spending that kind of money. And what if? Do it. Damn it, do it. And watch how your life changes. If you sit and worry about a budget on a tree like this, 10 years from now, you're still going to be crawling around on the ground on your hands and knees, wondering where abundance is going to come from. If you do it and let the energy flow, it's there. And 10 years from now, you're going to have 5 trees like this or more. It follows. Abundance follows abundance. Quality follows quality. And when you're cheaping out on yourself, you're doing yourself the greatest disfavor when you're cheaping out on you. And I know, I can hear it all. I can hear so many of you online right now. But Adamus, you don't understand. I don't have any money. I don't have any bills. Well, yes, because you've been living cheaply. And if you'd been living abundantly, you would have all the things you want. Absolutely. Live in abundance. Live in quality or don't live at all. I can see that on the homepage of your website. So to my point that I was getting at, I've gotten the bug. I was telling the Ascended Masters the other night, I said, I come from a theater background of sorts. I had a few lifetimes where I practiced the theatrical arts. I love them because it gets you out of your stinking way. When you realize that this is all an act, when you realize that you can really activate any facet of yourself at any point to act out and never lose your core I am identity. Acting is wonderful, and it's a creative expression, but it also opens you up, gets you laughing, gets you playing with the many facets that you have of yourself. So I was telling the Ascended Masters, I said, I'm really actually gotten the stage bug. Now, I used to have the theater bug. I used to love acting on the theaters, but, if you had an audience of 100 or 200, that was huge, because you had to really yell. Back there now, you have these microphones. I said, I'm really getting the bug. I like this. I'm comfortable on the stage, even if Calder isn't. I'm comfortable with the audience. We have great fun. I said, I think I'm going to stay a little while longer. Maybe even Chambra will kind of hold back on their embodied enlightenment just so we can kind of keep this gig going for a while. I really like it. And I said, through some Chambra, I watch these shows on television. And they're like these talk shows, these late night shows. I said, I'll sit there. Of course, they're asleep. So they passed out, but I'm kind of watching through them. And it's fun to see these late night hosts. I kind of see myself as the...
You mean like the Adamus Saint-Germain show?
Yeah. Oh. Featuring Adamus Saint-Germain. Oh. Directed by Adamus Saint-Germain.
What about the opening?
Starring Adamus Saint-Germain. Well, and I said, Calder was driving down here today, and I interrupted him, and I said, I'd like to kind of play this out a little bit. Find me some music. So let's redo the whole beginning. You had that nice, sweet, teary, sensual music and visuals. But here's how I'd like to start the Adamus show. But let me go back here first. And Linda, you're up front.
Okay.
Co-hosting.
Okay, I can do this, maybe.
And let's hit it.
Hey, it's the Adamus Saint-Germain show. Here we go, everyone. Welcome, Adamus Saint-Germain. Yay! Here in our studio audience.
Thank you, Linda. So
Our
good
pleasure.
to be here with all of you.
Our pleasure.
This is one of the best
Look
audiences.
at this gorgeous audience here for you and those online.
Hey,
Welcome.
This is one of the best audiences we've ever had here. Poor Caldra, he's going to die. So, welcome to the Adamus Show. Yeah, we got a lot to cover today. We're going to talk about some of the latest happenings on the planet Earth. We're going to talk about how there is no time, and we're going to talk about a whole new energy that can change your life.
Yay! You go for it, Adamus.
So before we do, let's get into the monologue in the Adamus Saint-Germain show. I was at the Ascended Masters Club the other night. We were talking, and about the human journey. And there's a saying at the Ascended Masters Club: this planet is not for masters. This planet is not for masters. Kind of like No Country for Old Men, your movie, but this planet is not for masters. And we all cracked up laughing, because humor on the other side is a little bit different than human here. But we understood what that meant. We understood that it's so difficult. It has been for all of us, all 9,699 ascended masters. It was so difficult for us to stay in grayness, to stay in the singular sense of focus. So difficult to stay amongst other people who, lovely people, but rather unconscious. So difficult to stay where the world and people at times can be so cruel, so mean, so dull, that this planet is no place for ascended masters. And we all nodded our head and agreed. We all said, staying a week after our enlightenment seemed like a lifetime. For a few who stayed a couple of years, like Kuthumi, it was almost forever. They found themselves having to isolate themselves, to become hermits, to really remove themselves from everything but nature. This planet is really no place for ascended masters, because it hurts. It hurts the body. It's being compressed so tight. You're operating from a mind that is limited and actually pretty mindless. You're not in your senses. You're not even you when you're here. You're not you. But you don't recognize it. You don't realize it. You just know something's wrong. Something's wrong in all of your human lifetimes. The many, many that you know there's something that's not right, but you don't know what it is. So what do? You blame it on yourself. This thing that's wrong, the reason you're not getting it, that you're not happy, the reason that life seems to be such a struggle, because you're doing something wrong. This planet is no place for ascended masters. And what do? Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. You try to make it work. You try harder to become more focused, to become more like what the expectations of other people are. You get more away from who you really are. You're trying to hide and mask this knowingness that you have, that there's a lot more. Then you go into fear, and you go into doubt, and then you eventually go into hiding within yourself, but a very, very small part of yourself. That's why this planet is really no place for masters. It's really not. We all nodded our heads, damn right. Couldn't wait to get out of there. Couldn't wait for our enlightenment, but couldn't wait to get out of there, because why would anyone want to stay? Why would they want to stay in a place that is not really them or for them? A place that really doesn't welcome masters, that really doesn't honor who you really are, that tries to get you back into the family, ancestral, karmic bloodline, a world that tries to get you back into your mind, a world that tries to get you to serve others and not love yourself. Why?
This is a depressing monologue. Where is this going?
Going to go straight to hell if you're not careful. This is my monologue. I didn't say my show is going to be funny. I just said it was going to be a monologue. It's my monologue. Wait, there's more. Nice distraction.
I tried.
So we sat around and talked, and finally, one of the ascended masters, Zena, said, but hang on a second. Adamus, you say that this planet is no place for masters, but yet you're standing in front of a group, sometimes acting a little foolish. You're standing in front of a group and encouraging them to stay.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? This is the
Yeah.
funny part.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't really care one way or the other.
Oh.
I really don't. You
Oh.
come over to my side, come over to the bright side, come over to the easy side, or stay there. I said, but they want to stay. They want to stay. And one of the other ascended masters said, but why? Why do they want to stay? It's almost like being in prison, and the warden comes in one day and says, Shay, you're free. Here's your papers. And Shay says, no, I want to stay. Why? Why do they want to stay? And I said, we'll talk about that at the Adamus St. Germain show. We'll talk about that and find out why. Now, I have some pretty good feelings of why you do, but I'd like to hear from you very quickly. Why stay? And let's eliminate one thing right up front. It's not because you're afraid to die. You think that's why you want to stay because, oh, geez, I don't know. Then I'm going to die. No, actually, you're really beyond that fear. I mean, it's not like you're looking forward to it. And I know that every one of you is saying, okay, when it's my time, no pain, just walk out, none of these diseases, that's fine. But it's not for fear of death. So why stay? Please, Linda.
Am I looking for volunteers?
Always.
Okay, here we go.
Yes. Why? Go ahead.
Why stay?
Why stay?
To make a difference.
With what?
Holding the vibration
For what?
for the rest of the planet.
Okay.
As a master.
What? And I'm just hypothetically, what if they didn't want the vibration changed? What if they didn't? What if they actually turned against you?
Actually doing it for myself.
Okay. Good.
And that's a byproduct.
Good.
Yeah, just holding it for myself.
Okay. Could I dare say that you're doing it almost as just to see if you can?
Yeah, there's a piece of that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a new adventure.
Good. Could I also say that maybe this is really ingrained in you very deeply from many lifetimes? I'm going to stay. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be here as a light shining on the planet for others.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Good. Thank you. Next. Why stay?
I knew you were going to do that. It's an adventure.
It's an adventure. But I got adventures on the other side that are beyond anything you could even imagine. I mean, we do things every day, and they don't cost anything, that are adventures beyond. You say it's an adventure. It's boring. It's really boring. I have a hard time coming. I fall asleep sometimes coming down here. It's so boring. And you say it's an adventure. In what way?
It's not been done before.
That's true. That's true.
And
So what do you want? I did it first badge?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good one. Sure. What else? Why stay?
I just have this deep sense of, I don't know, I guess it's from your teachings and Joshua's teachings of,
I know she put me before Yeshua. That's okay.
well,
stop being such dicks in the
it
bud.
is-
He doesn't care. Yeshua had a great. I'm going
It
to
is
tell you
your
some
show.
stories. Yeah,
I mean, after
it is
all,
my show.
it
Right,
is your
right.
show.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's not the Adamus and Jermaine show, also featuring Yeshua, Jesus H. Christ. It's like, no, it's my show. Get your own show, Jesus. I guess he has a lot of shows on this planet. There's the Jesus show. It's like, wow, okay, he's got some. Go ahead. What else?
I think a deep sense of bringing the Christ energy in and living that energy.
Okay, you could bring it in and then quickly come over to the other side. We got a bunch
I
of
tried
Shamba.
that. It didn't work.
Didn't work?
No.
Coming over to the other side? That's easy.
It wasn't for me.
Really?
I really did want to leave. I really did. I had
you
just
wanted to leave.
had it.
Wow. And then what
Yeah.
changed?
I don't know. I just went to the beach, drank a few beers, watched the ocean waves go.
I'm not going to tell the Ascended Masters that story. Yeah, I had a few beers and decided to stay on this lousy planet. It's like, okay, you still drinking?
I don't drink that often.
Not that often. Just when I feel like leaving the planet. I have a couple of beers. Okay, you want some Kool-Aid?
No.
Kidding.
No.
Kidding.
No.
Kidding.
No.
Where's the fanfare? Come on. Brum, brum.
I didn't really want to leave.
You didn't want to leave.
If
Okay.
I had really wanted to leave, I would have left.
Right. Okay.
So I had
Well,
to go.
tell me one compelling thing why you want to stay.
That's why I came.
Why you think? Thank you. Yeah, a little delayed reaction from Jesus. Stop that. Thank you. A couple more real quick. Why would you want to stay? Why would you want to stay? Now, you can both share the microphone. Yes.
Well,
It's a 2-for-1 deal.
It's a twofer.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here, so why not try to experience mastership while I'm here?
Okay. Well, what if you get tired of it after 3 days? You have such insight, not brain insight, but such insight. Why stay?
I wouldn't know where else to go.
Oh, I got some great places.
Okay.
I got such
When the time
vacation
comes, I
getaway
will
deals
call
to
you.
the other side. Yeah.
Okay.
And, for your children, for your.
No, I would like personally to experience mastership in the body.
Okay. That's good. I like that. Very clear. Thank you. Yeah, he took your answer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He took my answer. And also, I think nature, I like the experience of nature on planet Earth. And
Yeah, we got nature on Theos, which is
Oh.
the really nice nature. Like this, but alive. Yeah. Nature, okay.
And my children.
And your children.
And people I love. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. Okay. So it's I don't know if it's craziness on your part or true dedication, compassion, or just because you can, because you're going to try to do it. There is a very deep and a very old commitment that you have made, going back to the times of Yeshua, where you first called yourself Shambra. You said, we're going to do it one day. We're going to stay. Because you were seeing others from time to time leave. And you saw Yeshua leave. Not so pretty. And you said, no, we're going to do it just because we can. But you also know, you knew back then and you know now, it's going to transform, I don't want to say the planet, but it's going to transform souls. It'll have an effect on this planet, but when there are 1,000 or more of you in where you've allowed your enlightenment, it's going to change the planet, but not in the way you'd expect. It's not going to be a great kumbaya moment for the planet. It will actually cause more friction, more resistance, more tension on the planet. Some of the great prophets that have come along, they haven't been admired and loved for centuries later. So you're gonna cause some crap to come up on the planet. But there's something you kind of like about that too. But you're also going to, if I could summarize this, that even without any immediate effect, that you are creating such a potential for others. You're adding a potential to consciousness that really is not much there right now. Your legacy, what you're leaving behind for others who come after you, who are going to go through those tough times into their awakening, those tough times in their life when they lose everything in coming to their enlightenment, who doubt themselves, who are in agony and torment. You're leaving a potential that's really not very visible right now. That's really the reason I feel that you're staying. And it may not happen right away, this potential that you're adding for other humans who are coming into their mastery. They may not get it right away. It may take lifetimes for them. But you're putting it there. You're crystallizing it for them. So on one of those dark night of the soul nights, when all seems lost and hopeless, and they're at the end of the end and don't know what to do, suddenly there's going to be a light that shines. It doesn't mean they're going to take it, accept it, allow it, or anything, but at least it's going to be there. You know what it's like not to have that light. You know what it's like to be in the darkest of your moments and just feel more darkness. You know how awful that was. And part of the commitment, if we really kind of here go beyond linear time, part of the commitment that you have in the future that's instilled in you right now is to leave that potential, that light, that hope, whether it shows up to them as an angelic voice or just clarity in their mind, whether they suddenly see the beauty of themselves, whatever it is, but that light is going to be there for them. That's why. And it may not occur right away. And you really actually have your, funny way of speaking, your future self has no agenda whether they take that light or not. No agenda. But at least it's there. For so many of you, if you had had that, there was little slivers of it, but almost invisible. But if you would have had that, let's call it a light, that feeling of hope in your darkest moments, how things could have been different. That's what you're leaving behind. That's why you're staying. And it's hard to do. It's very hard to do if you have your enlightenment and then leave 3 days later. But when you stay embodied, when you are able to be in the and, to be in a rather gray, rather unsensual world, but also walk as the and master, you're also walking in your sensuality, in your color, in your I am. That's the whole, really, if I could kind of summarize all this, that's the whole thing, is this whole thing, concept of leaving the light and being able to be in the true and. You're going to be human. You're going to make mistakes, as you would call them. You're going to bump your head on a low ceiling. You're going to continue to do that. We're not trying to overcome that. You're in the human condition. You're going to forget that you got food cooking on the stove and it's going to burn and the house is going to fill with smoke and the fire alarms are going to go off and you're going, I'm supposed to be an ascended master. And in that exact same moment, you are the ascended master, laughing at yourself. That's the comedy part of my monologue. What was that? So, point is, why don't you start laughing right now? Because you are in the end. It's not terribly clear, but how do you get there? You just do. I am here. I'm in the and. I'm a human. I'm immortal. And I'm going to bump my head and stub my toe, and I'm the master at the same time.
That's so cool. Yeah. That is so cool.
All right. Okay, now today's guest for our show is you. I got a question for you. So Linda's going to volunteer you to come up here to the guest chair and answer the following question on live TV in front of everybody. What is the most outrageous thing you've done in this lifetime? Now, before you come up here for this portion of the show, I want to remind you, I can read all of your thoughts. So I need to know what was the most outrageous thing. And I will tell you the most outrageous thing that I did in my last lifetime on Earth.
Oh my God, this sounds like fun. Am I ready?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Okay, volunteer.
Whoa,
Volunteer. What's the
wonder.
most outrageous thing you've done in this lifetime? David, come on up. Big hand for David. Cool. Have a seat, David.
Thank you.
Would you like a cup of coffee?
No, thank you. I'm quite content.
You're thinking about that over. Nice boots.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, I really like those.
Well, as you're aware, I actually bought those after your magnificent class that you taught in Breckenridge.
Yep, where I said go out and buy something for yourself. And, you know, people spend a lot of money. A lot of money. I don't know how much those boots are, but those look like about $1,000 boots.
Actually, I got them on sale. But they are magnificent.
Yeah.
They probably would have been without being on sale.
Who invented sales anyway?
I like the
That's-
deals.
Well, okay, but nice boots. But
Thank
what
you.
was the most outrageous thing you've ever done in this lifetime? Oh, yeah. And you're amongst friends here.
Yeah.
You can say anything you want.
Going to Europe in 1963,
Uh-huh.
when I was a junior in college and took off for the summer. It's been about 8 weeks or so there.
Yeah.
Traveled around.
Why was that outrageous?
Well, it was totally out of the box for me.
Yeah.
I didn't really have the money at the time that I decided to do it, but I
Right.
decided to do it.
Do you ever regret doing it?
Absolutely not.
But you didn't have the money, and you felt kind of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Yes.
Yeah. Good, good. And have you gone back or done anything outrageous like that since?
That was the best of the best.
Yes.
It's actually where I met you for the first time in Paris, as you're aware.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we hung out for 3 days, so it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. Bad hangover, but
No, it was
that's
quite-
another story. So, good. And
Yeah.
what's the most outrageous thing you've done lately?
Bought myself some new furniture.
Oh, geez, that's outrageous.
Oh, boy,
It was for me.
Man, we got to work on these
why
pics.
why was new furniture outrageous?
I had bullshit of saving money.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Is it nice furniture?
Yeah, it's lovely. It's
You
gorgeous.
love it? Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
spend too much?
No, I got,
John,
No, it's lovely. I bought exactly what I wanted.
you got it at the furniture barn, I'm sure.
No, but
nice furniture.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'll bring this to a point, hopefully, in just a moment. But thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have any guilt about your outrageous adventures in life? Any remorses?
At this point, it would be not being more outrageous and doing it, outrageously all the time.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, really, my thing is, the box got kind of comfortable,
Yeah.
but kind of pinched too.
You ready for some outrageous?
Absolutely.
Woo-wee. Okay. Here we go.
Hoo-ah.
Good. A couple more. Thank you, David.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to work on my more outrageous.
Okay.
Let's see.
All
Really
right.
outrageous.
Linda's looking for a volunteer.
Really outrageous.
Come on up. Yeah. Welcome to the Adamus Show, featuring Adamus and
Alice.
company. Yeah, Alice, good to have you here. What's the most outrageous thing you've ever done? Do we want to hear
You go
this?
for it, girl.
That's
You
right.
go for it.
I hear it coming now.
I dare you.
There are so many.
Well, just
Yeah, I
give me
know.
the most outrageous thing.
I had sex in my car.
Can you all hear this? Okay, it's like.
Hello,
okay.
world.
All right.
I had sex in my car in Disney World parking lot. That was pretty cool.
No, I asked for the most
seriously.
outrageous
That
thing.
was,
No.
no, man. There
Why?
were people all.
That was it?
And it was hot, and they had a blanket over us, and
Why'd you have a blanket over you?
so
if it was hot.
Couldn't see.
Nobody cares.
Okay, so the
How many of you
time
seen
I
people
did
fornicating
it
and,
without the blanket.
It's people are just like, yeah. Okay, well, no, that's okay. Actually, the good thing is that Mickey Mouse didn't walk by and have a heart attack on the spot. Yeah.
Scared the
how old
kids.
were you when you did that?
Oh, 24, 25?
24. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel guilty about it?
Oh,
No.
it was good
Do you
fun.
wish you hadn't done it?
No, many
Good.
more times.
Many more times. Yeah. Good.
All around the world.
And what's the most outrageous thing you've done lately?
Ooh, I
I'm
dare
gonna get
ya.
in trouble with Linda.
No, Linda doesn't care.
It was at Bonn.
Oh, one of our events.
You are nodding.
And you guys weren't in the room. It was the pizza party night.
That was
And you know how
fun.
you had your chairs up here?
Yeah, yeah.
I know you were there, so I
Yeah.
can't lie, but Nikolai, help.
And-
But I sort of sat on your lap,
Yeah.
on your chair,
Yeah.
and danced with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You did a lap dance with Jeff.
how
Short
long,
version.
how long
I like
did how long did that go?
Julie,
I gotta
many
ask.
minutes.
I just gotta ask. But was I good?
You just
I mean,
sat
dancing,
there.
dancing.
You just sat there.
Just,
I
then
had
it
to
wasn't
do
me.
all
It was probably Kasumi or Tobias. Probably Tobias. What? Sex? I hardly remember having sex. It's like, hey, give me a drink instead. It's like,
No, we were dancing, just dancing.
Dancing.
No
I
sex.
know.
But it was very sensual,
Sensual.
dancing.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Okay. Are you ready
it
for
was
some more outrageous in your life?
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, I love this.
Oh,
Y'all
I
make a
open.
commitment in front of Jesus, me, and everybody. You know I'm leading up to something.
Absolutely.
You've got to know that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. A couple more. Just a couple more.
Chicken. Let's see.
Oh, we have a volunteer, Linda. We have a volunteer.
Oh,
That's
good.
good. Good. Bring microphone, please.
Oh,
Microphone.
yes.
Good. What's the most outrageous thing you've ever done?
Well, I don't want to reveal too much, but I'm actually a fictional character while playing as a non-fictional character.
Yeah.
I literally passed through the fourth wall,
Right.
and
Why?
that's-
Why is that outrageous? Isn't that what we're all doing, or you're all doing?
Well, there's different levels of passing through the fourth wall, I guess, and I did it at a super high level. I don't know. It's hard.
Did it hurt?
Well, a little bit sometimes.
Yeah. Did it have any effects that you're struggling with?
Sometimes I struggle with them, but most of the time it's really fun.
Yeah. And why did you do that?
Because I want to cause some controversy in this world.
Okay. And you talk about passing through the fourth wall, but what about the ninth?
I've never heard of that one before.
Okay. Are you ready for it?
Okay.
Okay. Good. It's coming.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. And tell me, that was relatively recently that you did this.
Yeah, like last year, maybe.
Last year. Okay. Yeah. Are you ready for some more outrageous? Other
Yeah,
than the
I
ninth wall?
certainly am.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for being on the Adamus show. Good. One more.
One more victim?
One more.
Can it be a staff member?
It could be anybody.
Okay.
Anybody. We're just doing a little setup here. Uh-oh.
I dare you
Come
to
on
tell
up,
the
Bonnie. Come on up.
truth.
Come on up.
I dare you to tell the truth.
You look like a princess today. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Please have a seat. Bonnie doesn't like coming up to the front with me. We've had some
Oh, she'd like to come to the
encounters.
front with you.
Okay. So, what was the most outrageous thing you've ever
I
done?
really can't tell you that.
Don't tell me, tell them. I
Tell the
already know.
truth.
I can't.
Well, then
Bonnie.
I just can't.
welcome to the Adamus Springer
private.
show.
I can't.
You can't? How about the second just one outrageous thing you've done? Anything.
Well, here's what you should know about me. And then everybody will know, and it really won't matter.
Yeah.
I'm a lady who's alone.
Not
but
all
I
the time.
choose to be. And the worst thing about it is that I usually have relationships with gentlemen who are married.
No, I asked for something outrageous, not something everyday typical with most human beings.
Okay.
Give me something outrageous. So what's your point? I mean, no, tell me the outrageous thing that happens with these men who are married.
Well, lovely things happen with them.
Okay, but you're smiling. And no, outrageous would be like they go home, the wife finds out, throws them out of the house, they show up at your doorstep, you got another guy there, the two guys start fighting, and and they both shoot each other and leave you in their will. That's outrageous.
No, I'm much more careful than that.
You are careful. Why?
Because these people have to be protected.
From what?
Disaster.
Disaster. Well, it is disaster. Okay, well, tell me. So something outrageous recently in your life. Don't you have something?
I don't do outrageous things. Really.
Well, you've got something outrageous coming up real quick.
Oh, that's right.
Don't you turn? Isn't your birthday soon?
Yes.
Don't you turn like 55 soon?
Well, what's outrageous about that?
Outrageous? No. Can I reveal?
Of course.
Yeah, I was trying to be a gentleman. Calder was going to splurt it out. I'm like, no, be a gentleman. So, dear Bonnie, looking like a 55 or maybe a 50-year-old, is turning 75 at the end of the month.
Thank you.
That's outrageous. That's outrageous because actually she had a life plan that would have gone about 37 years initially.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And we'll look back on your life. Your life plan was about 37 years. She's on kind of like extended pass, but she's going to keep going. She's handling all your problems. I'm sorry, Crimson Circle customer service, and loving it.
Yes.
And dealing with all this energy, and she's going strong. That's outrageous. You're not slowing down.
I intend to go a lot longer than this.
Oh, absolutely. No, you've got another 60, 70 years left doing customer service for Crimson Circle.
Oh, boy. What fun.
That's outrageous. Why would anybody do that? So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, and you do look lovely.
Thank you.
And you do a great job with Chambre. She really does.
Bonnie.
Really does. She knows a lot of cuss words now that she never knew before, but outrageous. Most outrageous thing I ever did in my last lifetime. So I had and this is a true story, I got an audience with the Pope. I was very concerned about the upcoming French Revolution. I was concerned with the direction things were going, and the Pope was right in the middle of it. Pope Pius VI, right in the middle. The year was 1783. So I asked for an audience with the Pope. He was torn between supporting the Jesuits and not supporting them. He was more anti-revolution than anything. He was against the common people having their sovereignty. But he was in kind of a bad alignment with the French government at the time. He didn't know it, but they were going to come in and take him down, so to speak. I knew it took everything I could just to get an audience with him. He was a rather difficult, ornery man. But I also knew that I had to be outrageous, because if I just pleaded the case for politics, for country, for church or whatever, it would go on deaf ears. Because everybody pleads with the popes and the kings and everybody else. So I knew I had to do something to get his attention. So I was brought into the grand hall where our meeting would take place. I was brought in by his guards, and I knew it would be a while just sitting and waiting before the Pope came in, because that's what popes and bad CEOs do. They keep you waiting for a long time so they get the upper hand. I knew it would be at least an hour and a half wait. So I took a little nap because I could, and I did a little breathing because I knew I had to, and then I took off all my clothes. True story, absolute true story. Took off all my clothes and sat there by myself next to the fire because it was a bit chilly. Sat there totally naked. Suddenly, the big door from the pontiff place opened, and in walked the Pope. It was a moment of possible death. It was a moment of perhaps being thrown in the dungeon. But an interesting thing happened, something so interesting, they wrote books about it, stories about it later. The Pope didn't blink. The Pope didn't say a word. The Pope didn't stare down at my Adamus or anything else. he kept such a straight face, and all of his assistants, his staff, the Pope is back then was always at about 20 people around him. None of them blinked. Of course, I was laughing to myself out loud. I was laughing, and I knew, if nothing else, the Pope, in this kind of crazy state, had to listen. Who is this strange man standing there by now, standing there with no clothes on? It was to become the core material for the story, The Emperor's Clothing. And this is a true story. This is a very true story. He didn't have the consciousness to address my nudity. He was so afraid of himself and everybody else that he thought if he mentioned something about my natural state of being, that others would look at him like he was crazy, because perhaps they saw me with my clothes on. Perhaps the Pope thought nobody ever would walk in here and take their clothes off, so there must be something wrong with me. And he listened. And we sat there for an hour and a half. I started to shake at a point because it was very cold, but I couldn't let on. We talked for over an hour and a half about the politics of Europe, about the church, about all the goings on. That was the most outrageous thing I ever did. I
That's
walked
pretty
out.
outrageous.
That was pretty outrageous.
That's pretty outrageous.
Yeah.
I think you win today. Yes, you do. You win today.
That is a very, very true story. Thanks. It's a very, very true story. And that was outrageous. But
Shut up.
I am.
Shut up.
Jerry Springer Show. Linda hits her. It's keep your clothes on. And I talk about outrageous because we're going to start kind of being outrageous. You tell me stories up here. I didn't hear anything outrageous. I really didn't. I heard things that maybe made you a little uncomfortable, but nothing outrageous. I mean, really outrageous, outlandish. And I didn't say daring in terms of outrageous, standing on top of a 10-story building and jumping off. That's just daring. Stupid. I'm talking about getting out of your comfort with things. Now, you've been in comfort, you've been in focus for so long that right now your outrageousness is nothing but distant memories. And like David said, you get a little comfortable. You even start buying new furniture for your house to get more comfortable. Then I'm going to get even more comfortable. And your outrageousness was something that you did in your 20s and maybe 30s. But you haven't been outrageous in a long time. Kind of stuck in a long time. Now,
Don't you think Bonnie's doing a little better
better than what?
than the other outrageouses?
I know what Bonnie's doing is commonplace. I mean, it's like 50% of the married population is. So it's not outrageous, Bonnie. Yeah. I mean, you could make it outrageous. There's some things you could do, but we won't go there. So if we did, my clothes would be off. So it's been a while since you've been outrageous. You forgot what outrageous is. And you think outrageous is just doing something you feel a little bit guilty about or whatever, and it's not. Outrageous is where we go next. Outrageous is living in the beyond. Outrageous is actually starting to enjoy life on this planet. But you're not doing it the old way, not buying just new furniture. You buy a new house. You buy a villa somewhere. You do something really outrageous and unexpected, and watch what happens. People get into a rut. They start living in their patterns and mumbling and groaning about their patterns, but you do something outrageous. This was a bit outrageous. I mean, not terribly outrageous, but kind of a little outrageous. I mean, you see a tree in Brazil, and then you buy it without ever seeing it again, and you trust that it's just going to show up, and but the outrageousness, it's actually really not that outrageous because you knew it. Well, Calder and Linda knew it. It was a feeling that they allowed, and then it came to be. And the money is nothing. The money, those cheap trees you had here before, those dead trees, that was just boring. That was like What? You call that decoration? There were dead trees and there was no life to them. Now we're getting there. Now we're getting there. There's 2 points I want to make today we're going to start in on. They're going to lead to some outrageousness. You don't need to do a thing other than to allow and other than to realize what's going on. So let's take a good deep breath. We can turn down the audience lights. And 2 things in the Adamus show today that we're going to cover. The first is time. Time. So time is incremental. You live in incremental time. A second to a minute to an hour to a day to a week and on and on. And you've gotten so used to it, you don't recognize there are different types of time. Time itself is a function of focus. You have that one human sense, the only true human sense, focus. Time, when experienced in some new and different ways, allows you to actually expand focus itself. Your focus became so focused, that it's like a gravity that sucked it in. And then you start living incremental time. 1 second, 1 minute, 1 hour. And you accept that as normal. And it's not. It's not. Time has many facets to it. Many, many, many facets to it. And what I'd like to do today is begin that free time. Now, it's almost a contradiction because time in itself is not a free concept. Time is a mathematics. It's a structure. But what if, just what if, there were variables to time, different facets to time? In other words, here we are living second by minute by hour. But what if at the same moment, in the same consciousness perhaps, that you were actually above incremental time, you were in more of a free time? There is still the element of time. There is still kind of the element of past and future, but now it's not so incremental. It would be the difference between being at ground level in a city and walking through all the different streets and alleys and pathways versus being on top of a mountain looking down at the city where you see all of it, not just the street or the alley that you're on. Free time means it's not ordered the same way. It's not incremental. Free time is very real. Now, a scientist or a mathematician would argue all day long that you're making it up. Actually, the real answer to that is all this is make-up. All this is being made up. It's just that people tend to believe that there is just one form of time. The reality is time does not exist at all. It doesn't. Time is a really kind of a structure or a measurement system, but in a way it doesn't really exist. You can't go off in the universe and find time, the time planet or the time portal. It doesn't. It's a kind of a human agreement. It's become real because of that agreement, but they forget to tell you it's flexible. So outrageous here is that you're going to continue to live in incremental time. Your body literally now has a time clock and a time bomb within it. It does. Your body is timed for death. That's okay. I mean, it's we're not trying to overcome death. We're just trying to expand time. So here you are living in incremental time, but now in our short little mirab that we're going to do in just a moment, we're going to start going into free time. And you're going, oh, wow, that sounds great, but I'll warn you right up front, it's going to throw off your timing. It's going to throw off that very disciplined, incremental way you've been living. some of you are already starting to experience this, and it's little things like forgetting what day or what year it is, not because you're getting old, but because you're starting to go into free time. Some of you are actually starting to, what would you say, be able to project or predict the future, kinda. You're starting to know what's going to happen next, and it does, and then you're surprised. Well, you shouldn't be surprised. When you're in free time, you're not in those tight blocks of increments like you have been. Now, free time allows you to hover above. It would be kind of like taking a 7-year span and seeing it, sensing it, being in it all in one time, not having to unravel it over 7 years. There's many layers of free time. You have, at the lowest level, the incremental time, seconds, minutes, hours. There's other layers of time. Some of them have to do with the past. And in our coming into free time, you're going to particularly notice in your dreams some odd things that seem to be from the past, or thoughts, feelings, associations that you've had that are from the past. You're going to say, well, geez, I thought I got over my past. The past is still there. Now we're going to do what I'm going to call a time pass around time, where you come and almost orbit back through the past in a timeless or a free time fashion, not to relive it again, but as you orbit back through it without the increments, now just kind of more of a free form, you're going to notice that the past isn't what you had thought it was. The mind remembers the past in its incremental fashion. When you come back in a free time, kind of a pass around, an orbit around it, it's going to be different, but it will bring up recollections, associations, thoughts. Don't get all crazy. Don't start asking, oh, I thought I released all that a long time ago. You released the gravity of it. And the event is still occurring right now. The event is still occurring. It didn't happen back in incremental time and then stop. It's very outrageous. It's still happening. Everything still has its life to it. And it goes on. It's a story that kind of takes off on its own and is being lived out on many levels. And you don't have to attend to it. You don't have to suffer through it. But your stories, it's like writing a chapter in a book and then letting it go. And that chapter continues to write itself and all of its other potentials and all of its other iterations. It lives on. That's actually the beauty of a creator. You don't have to get all enmeshed in it. You don't have to be traumatized by it. But to start realizing that there is free time will be outrageous. And it will change the way you live on this planet as embodied masters. You cannot live. By the way, the answer to the real question at the Ascended Masters Club, why do they want to stay? The Ascended Masters that are there didn't understand free time. They didn't understand time anyway, but they didn't understand free time. Therefore, they didn't have the comfort, the luxury, the excitement of living in a different way. They just thought everything was linear. It's like, oh, I got my enlightenment. I got to get out of here because it's going to be more of the same. The real answer is once you start coming to your senses and being in free time, it's no longer the gray, lifeless place. Suddenly, everything comes to life. Free time. We'll be talking about it more, but I want to begin the process today. Everything's right for it. The tree, you, everything is right. So let's take a good deep breath, and this will be a relatively short mirab because I have one other thing to cover today in the Adamus show. So take a good deep breath. Free time. It means you're starting to realize, you're starting to exist on many different levels. It means you have your incremental level, seconds, minutes, hours, days, years. And that's fine. That's not necessarily going to change. You still want to have that for doing a lot of things. But we now take a deep breath where we're at and allow free time. That means you could take an increment of 7 years, for instance, and experience it all at once. Free time is when you are here in the moment, of course, present, but now you have, imagine like it's an orbit of time. Imagine like a comet going into orbits, but the orbits around you're the constant, you're the consciousness. The orbits can change in their size, and they can go into past time and into what you would call future time. So the whole basis of time starts to change a little bit. This is going to happen anyway. It's very natural. You don't have to work at it. You don't have to think about it, but I want you to be aware, because this is going to start leading to some outrageous things in your life. Truly outrageous. Wonderful, but outrageous things. When one goes beyond free time, or linear time, when one goes into free time, it changes the perspective. It changes the grueling nature of everyday human life. So imagine, if you choose, imagine your circadian rhythm, your incremental time basis, still there. But now you allow yourself to realize the other time orbits. Meaning seeing it as a bigger picture rather than seconds and minutes. Being able to comprehend large amounts of time all at once. It will baffle the mind, but that's okay. And these orbits, kind of these comets that are going around in orbit around you, are also opening to what you would call the past and the future. Normally, this would literally cause one to go insane in allowing this, because they're so ingrained in incremental linear time that they can't handle it. Their balance, their physical balance, then their ears would start going out and they start going crazy. But we're at that point where we can do this. Free time. It's outrageous. It's wonderful. One thing you'll start noticing with free time is that this whole concept of time, and let's say of the past and future, are really predicated on experience. Experience. You know, a spirit doesn't have a clock in her bedroom. The ascended masters don't wear watches. They're not locked into time. And in a way, there is no past or there's no future. In a way. What there is an unfolding of experience. one could say that nothing happens in the future until it has been experienced, but yet the future is always there. It's actually not realized until it is experienced, but yet it is there. Everything you're going to do in the future is there. Every potential of everything and every iteration of every potential of everything that you could ever experience, that you would ever say, that you would ever do, was all there when you went through the wall of fire, when you left home. That was the thing Tobias talks about, shattering into billions and billions of pieces. It was just pre-creating all of your experiences. And so many are still out there in what you call the future, but the future is nothing more than a reservoir of potentials and all their iterations yet to be experienced. That's what some people would call time. That's why nobody's ever really been good about predicting the future, because they don't understand that it's not occurring tomorrow and beyond. It exists in this moment, yet to be experienced. I wanted to be here together in a group with all of us here, particularly on this day of your beautiful tree of sensuality. So we together, Shambha, we could all start going into free time. Please don't work at it. Don't struggle with it. You just get yourself caught in incremental time. But we can allow it. It's going to be outrageous what happens with free time. It's going to feel strange at times because you've really been locked into this old way. It's going to feel rather strange, but it's going to be outrageous. Imagine getting up in the morning and realizing that you're also getting up in the morning in your past, and you're getting up in the morning in your future, all at the same time. It's outrageous. It'll throw you off a little bit, but then you'll adapt and adjust. You see, this is what an embodied master does. They don't just get realized and use the same old damn tools that, well, the other ascended masters did. No wonder we all left. But you, opening new pathways, you come into free time. Let's take a deep breath. Let's take a good deep breath. We'll be coming back to this. We'll be talking about it more and more, bringing it into our gatherings. Let's take a deep breath with free time. It kind of has a double meaning. Free time meaning no longer stuck in incremental, but you're finally going to have free time in your life. Free time, I mean, you'll have real time to yourself instead of every moment of every day being filled with obligations and work and things you have to do. You're suddenly going to realize what free time really is. Take a deep breath. There's one more thing I want to go into today, and they tie in very closely. They're so beautiful, so related to each other. This next subject I talked a little bit about in our recent Kihak gathering, and I told the Kihakers that I wanted to bring it to all Shambha at a shout. I bring it, the free time and this next realization to you because it's easier in a way when we're all aware of it. You're not just out there on your own, where we have a real group consciousness. You're not trapped in that consciousness, but it's kind of nice to have a whole group of us feeling and experiencing it together. The next concept has to do with energy. Energy. Now, you know from my Adamus 101 that there's this thing called consciousness, circle with a dot in the middle. It's the I am. It's the I exist, and it's the only thing that really matters, the only thing. Kind of always brings up a point. Why does a creator create? You know, the creator spirit, all that was. It could have been perfectly content just being the I am. I mean, the number one I am, the source. Why would one want to create? What's in it? I'm sorry, we need a microphone, and I'm asking a rhetorical question, actually, so that I can answer it. No, Linda, please. Linda, no. Linda, no. It was a rhetorical question.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, why does a creator create? Why not just be I am that I am? Just aware of the aware of yourself. Why even create in the first place? I mean, you could possibly create a mess. You could possibly create chaos. Why does a creator create? I'm going to leave that question. I'm not actually going to answer it. I'm going to leave you with that question. We're not done yet, but that's the homework. Why would a creator want to create? You've got your I am, I exist. I mean, that's pretty good. That's really the only thing that really matters. Why go out and create? We'll come back to that in our next shout. Not in June, but after that. So back to the point, energy. You got your consciousness, I am, I exist. From that comes such a passion. A passion. You know, when you really allow that feeling, I exist. Screw everything else. I mean, not I exist because, I exist if, I exist. It's the only thing that matters. It's the only awareness that's worth a damn. And when you really realize that, there comes such a passion. I exist. Beyond the physical body, beyond all the crap, beyond my identity, I exist. And that creates such I'm going to call it a passion, an excitement. Love is not quite the right word, but such a magnificence. I exist. That a light goes out. I mean, radiates forth, not goes out, but radiates forth. A light shines forth. And I'm talking metaphorically. But a light shines forth, and that goes out into you call a reservoir, a field of energy. And attracts that energy, activates that energy. And then it creates reality. The passion of the I am, of your soul. Just right now, your soul is still in its timeless excitement about I exist. I mean, it's still resonating. It let's say, from a time standpoint, your soul realized a long time ago, I exist. Not beholden to anyone or anything. I exist, and I always will. And then it just started resonating within the I am. It still is right now. And that's still creating these radiance of light that's going through all sorts of dimensions, attracting energy and creating reality. This. Now, when that happens, when this light shines forth, and when basically you, on the other end of your soul, you've got all this light going out, you're kind of the reflection, the other end of your soul. And your reality is being created by activating what I would call negative and positive particles of energy. The light goes out, and based on you, the receiver down here, and the way you are experiencing, You're going to attract different ratios of positive and negative energy particles. Life has always been like that. Human life has always been like that. It would seem outrageous to do something different. Right now, there are a stream of light, of negative and positive, or plus and minus, however you want to say it, particles coming into you and emanating or radiating out from you. Just imagine for a moment this stream of energy activated to a positive or a minus. Kind of like, software is either a 0 or a 1. Energy is the same. It's kind of digital in a way. Streaming into you as positive or negative. And at the same time, you're streaming it out from you. That's creating reality. That's the way it's always worked with energy. That's how things come about. You also know that one of the biggest challenges for humans and other beings is they're always trying to steal energy. You learned that in the sexual energy school. They're trying to steal energy because nobody's really very few have come to the realization that it's all here. It's all here. You don't have to steal from anybody else. It's all here. So, what is outrageous is no longer having to rely on the positive and the negative particles of energy. That's really outrageous because even quantum physics would say, well, then you die or everything ceases to exist. Because you got to have that. But you don't. You don't. There is a thing called free energy. It is energy that is always there, that is not activated to a positive or a negative. It is an energy without any bias. It is unseen, invisible energy because nobody has the tools to measure it. You cannot measure it. It has no force to it. It has no propulsion to it. It has no dynamic to it. It is not a force energy. There is no power to it. The world is attuned to power, to force, to action and reaction, to the constant bashing of energies or the alignment and the friction of energies. That's how the planet works. However, as embodied masters, you don't have to rely on that anymore. That's outrageous. That will defy every lifetime of living on this planet. And it will defy not only science, but it will defy everything that you knew to be about energy and how it works. You're so attuned to opposites, masculine, feminine, light, dark, up, down, that this will absolutely be outrageous. Free energy. Now, we're going to go into it in just a moment. You're not going to feel it in the old way, because your old way is absolutely attuned to feeling, well, let's say either light feeling or a heavy feeling or something pushing at you or something pulling away. So if you're approaching it with a typical consciousness, you would say to yourself, I don't feel anything. Well, hell yeah, you won't. But you will sense something. Something sooner or later will start ringing within you going, I get it. I don't have to have the conflict or even the old relationship of positive energy particles and negative, smashing each other, competing with each other. That's the friction made reality. The friction caused life. Life is friction. This planet is no place for a master when they're dealing with friction energy with power energy. Let's take a deep breath. Let's play that little music ditty real quick. There's just a short one. We got way too serious here. Yeah, this is my show, and the audience fell asleep. I mean, got bored, and where's the entertainment? Just, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, good. Much better. Good, back at it. Outrageous. You came up here before and told me outrageous. I really didn't hear an outrageous. How about some of you listening in today? Do you have outrageous stories you'd like to share? Make sure to post them on your favorite social media site. The stories here were mildly interesting on a slow news day, but not outrageous. Outrageous, taking your clothes off. It is a very true story. You can, I don't know if it was ever written about, but you can look up some of the details. It was 1783, Pope Pius VI, me, naked. Not a thing. Got a little chilly, though. I do remember that part. That's not so flattering. I won't go there. Or we had to break it up. It had gotten so serious in here. It's like it's just way too serious. All right. Never, ever, ever underestimate the tool of distraction.
The tool?
I don't get it. Never underestimate distraction. If you're teaching, if you're up teaching others, if the moment you sense the energy going woo down, distract. And especially with yourself. The moment you start getting too serious, you're thinking in your mind, how do I figure this out? What's life all about? What have I done wrong? Shut up, distract yourself. Pull off your clothes or something. By the way, that absolutely is a true story about the Pope and I, and absolutely true that it was the beginning of the whole story of the Emperor's clothing. He didn't dare mention it because he thought I must be going crazy. And nobody else, he had about 22 assistants with him, and nobody said a thing. You should have felt the energy in the room. And I just sat there as natural as could be, but acting like nothing was wrong. I acted like I was dressed elegantly, which actually I was.
What was it that they didn't see?
What was it that they didn't see?
Yeah, I mean, what was going on?
Well, the Pope was afraid that he was under a lot of stress, and he drank heavily. And there were some other strange things about him, but he was afraid that he was losing his mind. He was hearing voices. I wonder whose. He was afraid that he was cracking up, and he was a great tension with the church. I mean, the church obviously, but the government, and the whole concept of the Jesuits and the revolution. It was terrible. He thought he was losing his mind, so he was doing everything he could to lay low, to suppress, to not be outrageous. So when he walked into the room and saw me standing beside the fireplace, your graciousness, he dared not say a word because he really thought, with a little hypnotic influence, he really thought that, oh my gosh, I really am losing it. And if I scream out and say, slave, servant, why are you totally naked in front of God and the Pope and everybody? And that he was wrong, they would immediately take off the head. So he kept his mouth shut. And when he kept his mouth shut, it set up such an energy with everybody else. They kept their mouth shut. And at a certain point, about 20 minutes into the conversation, they'd forgotten about it. They'd actually just thought I was in my clothing. It was outrageous. So back to the point. Energy. Free energy. This is going to be so outrageous because you've been addicted to positive, negative energy, pulling it in different ratios. Sometimes you got like 62% negative, not bad negative, just negative, 62% negative over here, and the other part is positive, and the ratios shift back and forth all the time, but it's this constant inflow and outflow of activated energy. Activated meaning it's put into a bias of positive or negative. We don't need to do that. And it's so outrageous because nobody's ever done that on Earth before. Nobody's ever done that. It's going to feel strange because there is no power to this free energy. The free energy is all around. I mean, it's this incredible. Some people call it the what is it called? The field, the source field, or things like that. It's just energy that sits there waiting to be activated. But nobody ever said, why do we have to activate it? Let's just allow it. We'll get into the implications later, but I want you now to go back into a marab and just begin to sense it. And again, your mind's going to say, I don't feel anything, because it's used to feeling a push or a pull. The mind's used to power energy, activated energy, but this is totally different. Let's start the music and turn down the lights. This is more than outrageous. This is totally outrageous. Talking about things like free time and free energy. Observe how they are very related. We'll go into it later. I don't want to get into too much lecture today, but free energy, what I used to call neutral energy, it hadn't been activated. Now your body has become dependent on activated, biased energy, positive and negative. And that's how it operates. That's how the blood keeps flowing and how all the enzymes working. They are constantly in a flow of various ratios of positive or negative energy. But feel for a moment, or sense for a moment now, if the doorways are open into your body for free energy that has not been put into light or dark, positive, negative. It just is. It just is. It doesn't need separation. We talked about Isis and Adam, the masculine and feminine, the old separation. We talked about them coming back together. In a way, it's kind of like this with free energy. We've got positive and negative energy. But what if your body started to use free energy, unbiased, never, ever separated before? Energy that is not separated, divided. Free energy. Energy that has no power to it. I also like to call free energy the forceless energy. And what happens if the mind has always used duality energy, positive or minus? What if that's the programming of the mind, that for every thought that goes through it, for every belief that is in it, it has pulled forth old duality energy? What if now pure energy that's never been separated or divided, you could say it comes straight from the passion of the I am, without division. What if that comes into the mind and the thoughts and the beliefs and even your intellect? Pure, free energy. And what if when you wonder about, well, abundance or feeding yourself or your physical human energy source, what happens when you get outrageous and you simply allow in free energy? And that's the source of your abundance rather than old power energy. To a very large degree, energy has gotten corrupted on the planet. Corrupted meaning people now associate it with power. There's no need for power whatsoever. Energy, power, force, all kind of the same thing. What if we as a group get really outrageous and we transcend that? No power, no force, no friction, no resistance. What if we open the doors and windows to our very being as humans and allow free energy? Can you feel its purity? Never separated, never divided, never put into opposites. What happens if that comes in? What happens if you can just breathe it in? With no force, of course. What happens if you can just breathe it in and allow it into your body? Let it be in your body. What happens if it comes into your thoughts and your mind? That's outrageously pure. And it make the other energies look so old and laborious and gray. So when I ask, why would you possibly want to stay on this planet, the planet that is not for masters? What we are actually doing is changing the paradigm, changing everything. We're not staying in time. We're not staying in old energy. We're changing it. In staying on this planet, we're not going to stay in the same clothes, in the same house, metaphorically speaking. We're going to change it all. We're not going to keep enduring boredom and frustration. We're just going to change the entire paradigm. And it starts right here, in the midst of the real transhuman. I have to laugh. I really laugh when I look at everything's happening with technology, transhumanism, when they think implanting a computer chip into your brain or getting married to a robot or anything like that is advanced. That's not advanced. That's the same old crap, just faster. Transhumanism, to me, is what we're doing right here. Changing the game. We're going into free time. And incremental time will still exist. It's the and of being a master. It's both. And we're changing energy. Oh, the old energy, the biased or the separated energy will still be a way of life, but we're also going into the free energy. And to me, that is the real transhumanism of this planet. While the rest of them play with technology and play really just developing new swords, lighter swords, faster swords, but they're still swords. We're going into divine transhumanism. That's why you're staying. That's why you've chosen to be here on the planet. That's the potential I talked about before. You're leaving behind your legacy. Why? Because, well, hell, you're a creator. Because you can. Legacy of true change, a potential for others if they choose to continue with it. Let's take a good deep breath during this day. Whether you really understand it or feel it right now, what we did today was outrageous. And we're going to keep going with it. Let's take a good deep breath. And I want to make such an impression in your mind and your consciousness, such an impression of outrageousness. And when you look at your own life and you think about, well, are you really ready for true outrageousness? Are you really ready to step out of the doldrums and the boredom of life? I want you to imagine me standing in the papal chambers, totally naked. And moments before the Pope and his entourage walked in, I was a bit scared, I had to admit, but I took a deep breath and I said, all is well in all of creation. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. How about my fanfare music going out? Thank you. Thank you.